Good morning, everyone. I'm Elizabeth Dandenell, licensed marriage family therapist, and I'm one of the clinicians at East Bay Center for Anxiety Relief in Alameda, California. And I'm here on Thursday and it is April 16th, to share with you another tip for your body, your mind, and your communication through the shelter in place and through the COVID pandemic. You know, we're about a month into, for many of us, the shelter in place. And this is the time where you might be experiencing what some people are calling the new normal. Feeling like there might be some structure to your day, but at the same time, there may be some thoughts and feelings arising about when is this going to end? Is it going to end? What's happening? Because we're kind of in the middle of it. We're in the slog of it, right? And there will be an end. Even, in the paper yesterday, Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, reminded us that this is a moment in time. It is not a permanent state. And we're getting through it. And for those of you in California, to remember that what we're doing here appears to be working, and it's still some time ahead of us, but your efforts are working by staying at home. And so what I have to offer you today, one is for your body, is a suggestion when you go outside. And if you're a walker or a runner, or maybe even if you're riding your bike, as you're outside, when you walk around, and some of you may be going around a familiar path or doing the same walk every day a couple of times, is to look around the area that you're walking and challenge yourself to notice 10 things that you haven't noticed before. This helps because in this space that we're in right now, it's easy to really go inward and think internally, which at times that can be helpful. Other times it can start that spinning and start the worrying and start triggering feelings of higher levels of anxiety or some real anger. And while all those feelings are on certain level appropriate, if we sit and spin in them, then the slog is even harder. So to look outside of yourself on your walks is a good idea. And one way is to make little challenges, such as I suggested, is to go around your block and do the walks and the exercise you usually do, but think, okay, today I'm going to notice 10 things that I didn't notice before. The second tip that I have is, if you're around the house and that same kind of focus can happen, where you start focusing inward and you start thinking about things and you start thinking about the news report you read in the morning and whether you agree or disagree and wondering when is this going to end, and we're seeing that the economy is obviously not doing well and there's people out of work, which my heart goes out to all the people that have been deeply impacted with this, and we've all been impacted in some way. If you find yourself on those thoughts and they're churning over and over again, then one thing to do for your mind, it's a mindfulness method that's pretty common, but I would like to bring it to your attention again, and just a reminder, and it's called hit the pause button. And what that means is that you find something, for example, every time you get a text on your phone, or each time you sit down for a meal, or that you have something to eat, you take a moment and you hit the pause button before you engage in that activity. So let's say it's every time you receive a text, and so before you look at your phone, you take a deep breath. And that breath, there's great value if you exhale longer than you inhale. That helps reset the body. And it just hits the pause, and it creates a little distance. And it's the gaps right now, the space we create, not only between each other, the physical distance, but the space we create between our thoughts that allow us to continue to stay calm, think things through, have healthy levels of anxiety or a little bit of depression or grief or even anger. These feelings are okay, What happens in this time that we're in, though, is that we're a lot vulnerable to getting stuck in them. And so when you hit the pause button, every time you get a text, or every time your cell phone rings, before you answer it, just a quick 10, 20 seconds. You inhale, maybe to the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, and exhale to the count of 4 or 5. And that'll help reset the communication between your mind and your body, or your brain and your body. It will allow you to just hit the pause in a mindful way. So that's my second tip. And the third tip is about communication. And one style of communicating and also just thinking, which is more commonly known as all or nothing or extreme thinking. Some of you might have heard of this before. All or nothing, like everything, nothing, always, never. This will never end. This always happens to me, sort of patterns. Those are what I call like the 0 and the 10. And they will fuel higher levels of anxiety and depression and anger and bring a level of upsetness to your emotional state that then continues this churn and this worry that we might go through, that we're vulnerable to during this time of the shelter in place. And so I invite you to be just challenge yourself for an hour a day, perhaps, or 3 times a day, or maybe the whole day if you're game for it. But an hour a day to watch your thinking and see how many times do you, if you do, use words like always and never, and this is final, this is over, either this or that. And if you do, then think of words and about, sometimes, frequently, often, maybe, possibly. That puts you more into the 1 through 9, the middle ground, which is so critical and useful right now. Anytime we go to the extremes of that 0 or 10, we're more likely to fuel the depression and the anxiety that we already have. So, when you take a walk, challenge yourself to find 10 things you didn't notice before. Or when you're on a bike ride or a run, hit the pause button. When your cell phone rings or before you go speak to your children, find one activity a day and mark it as your pause moment. Communicate in a more of a 1 through 9 way, more balanced, sometimes, maybe, frequently. Be cautious of and even assess yourself of how often do you use the nevers and the always. That's my offering for today. I hope that you find it helpful. The clinicians here at East Bay Center for Anxiety are here to support you, either through our Facebook rooms. I also did a good interview with a colleague of mine, Deb Palmer, who has some very good tips on how to manage your loved ones at a distance if they're ill or in the hospital. And we're also offering free online support groups for anybody in the state of California or Oregon. So please look us up, and I wish you well. Be safe, take good care, and I'll talk to you next Monday. Bye.